What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the OddsShopper channel, coming to you with a Week 14 NFL edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me in this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. It was great content if you took the Tim Patrick nugget. That is for sure. Guys, he ends up with 2 touchdowns. Some people out there betting the double alt there. That was insanity. Now, I ended up having like the smallest of all plays. Didn't even put it in the Discord because I was like, oh, well, I didn't even remotely think that, he would be seeing 70-80% of the snaps there again. But it just felt like, where else do they even go with Khalif Raymond there on the IR? And sure enough, he plays all the snaps. He could have had 3 touchdowns. That first touchdown there, David Montgomery, there was pass interference where Tim Patrick doesn't get held there. He ends up scoring that one too. So, unbelievable red zone target there. Jamison Williams did not come through, and that was the massive play. That was the one that mattered for me. But locks overall, we've hit 13 of our past 17 in NFL. It's been an unbelievable run. And then, well, when we've had some bad days in some of the primetime slates, well, in terms of locks, that is, we've smashed a lot of the anytime touchdowns. I do have a better than plus 400 anytime touchdown that I really, really like based on his usage coming up on this video. Have a lock for you. That one feels pretty good. And Devon Achane to score a touchdown, you can just probably write that in anytime that it's better than minus 150. Shout out FanDuel. All of the best anytime touchdown odds, basically week in, week out this year. Thank you to them. Also, thank you to my overlords giving me this Lindy50 promo code permanently, where I can give you your first week or your first month in tails completely 50% off. I almost said free, but it's 50% off, friends. Lindy50. You go to the link down below, sign up. That would be awesome to see you guys there. Again, I know the holiday season is stressful. I know it can be tenuous, and I know you're buying gifts for your girlfriend. I know you're buying them for your boyfriend's girlfriend or your girlfriend's boyfriend. No, we're not going to get into the intricacies of it. Lindy50, 50% off. That becomes $10. $10 for your first week. $25 to hang out with me for a month. Would love to see you there. Alrighty, y'all. Without further ado, it's week 14. I know a big playoff slate for a lot of you fantasy folks out there, myself included. Could use a W and have some buys. That would be nice. Need some buys in the playoffs. Producer Jacob, don't want to think about week 15 yet. It's week 14. Let's get to the picks. And let's begin. New Orleans taking on New York. Lots of injury news in this one. Specifically, Malik Neighbors, a gigantic piece on the New York Giants side of things. You're going to be waiting for that news here. I think it's probably closer to like 45, 55 that he doesn't play at the moment. What does he have to play for? What does he have to prove? This is a 2-10 Giants team. It's a 4-8 Saints team. It's not like they have a lot to play for either. But I'm just saying, Malik Neighbors sitting has become more of, not a foregone conclusion, but he's on pretty much every one of my year-long teams. I've never really broken down a wide receiver coming into the draft that I liked this much since Justin Jefferson. Shout out LSU Tigers, my God. But Malik Neighbors, if he ends up sitting, you got to be paying close attention to Darius Slayton. He's kind of the main beneficiary here. You're getting some major plus money, plus 148 here. He ends up being out there a lot more. Wan'Dale Robinson, smaller possession receiver, closer ADOT. Drew Lock being quarterback definitely helps. And I will say Taysom Hill out on the New Orleans side. Kind of favor the Giants here getting the points, but I will not be doing that in any way, shape, or form because I think the prop section going to be more of what I take a look at here in this one. 41.5 total is pretty down there, but still, I think there's going to be some prop love I have in this one. Slayton over 2.5. The only reason I'm going to make this a lean right now and not a play is 1, I haven't bet it yet, and I have to bet it for it to be a like, and I want to have my tickets for you. And 2, if Malik Neighbors plays, this is going to look egregiously bad. Cleveland plus 6.5 taking on Pittsburgh. Revenge of the snow game. That's what we're going to be walking into. Using of the Rogaine. Check. Don't know why that went into my brain. Shout out the hangover. But Cleveland, you took advantage there. Also, Cleveland's played some of the more fun football games the last couple of weeks, which is not what you expected here from a 3-9 Cleveland Browns team, but absolute shootout of massive proportions in Denver there. And then going up against Pittsburgh last time out, that snow game with Jameis Winston's just good for football. He's kind of a crazy person and maybe not the best person, but you know what? Jameis Winston is very fun when it comes to primetime appointment television. I'm just hoping that it's more of the bad Jameis Winston version that we get in this one going up against Pittsburgh, because inside of a touchdown, You think Pittsburgh hasn't taken stock of everything that Cleveland said after that game? And Pittsburgh, I do agree with them that if it weren't for the weather in that one, they probably would have been victors in it. Now, I don't think they were going to cover for us in that spot, but here at home, I expect those towels to be waving in full force. Pittsburgh making a strong push to not just make the playoffs, but sitting there in a driver's seat position, 9-3 in the AFC. You have an 11-1 Kansas City team taking on the Chargers. You have the 10-2 Buffalo team, only 3.5-point favorites against LA. We'll talk about that one, but there's ways that Pittsburgh moves themselves into the conversation for a 1 or 2 seed in these last couple of weeks. I think they really put the foot down here in this one. Plus Cleveland without Cedric Tillman, more than likely again. Not great. I know we saw Jerry Jeudy go ballistic. He avoided the outside shadow coverage there of Pat Surtain, even though Pat Surtain did cover him a little bit more than I even expected in that game. I love Pittsburgh here. Give me the Pittsburgh defense. Jameis Winston, hopefully on the road, making a couple more bad decisions. Hey, we still saw those against Denver. All right, everybody. I know. I'm a Minnesota Viking fan. I grew up in South Dakota. Both my parents are from Minnesota. That is near and dear to my heart. But I'm not a homer. I'm generally a pessimist when it comes to these Minnesota Vikings. I have been my entire life. And that brings me back to 1999 with Gary Anderson, who hadn't missed a field goal all year until he misses a field goal in the NFC Championship game against these very same Dirty Birds. You guys remember Jamal just out there doing the dance, feeling the flow. That was not fun for me. And then they get creamed in the Super Bowl. But Atlanta, they're 5.5 point dogs coming into Minnesota. They have started to fall by the wayside. They are not that good. I've been screaming it from the top of the roof. I said it before the season. I have all the receipts for that one. And I have all of the alternate win totals against them here. Now, I'm still not in the best position, considering it was at 9.5 wins for the main number, and that was minus 115 towards that under. But I have so many NFC South outs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Saints are not going to get it done here, so I'm basically banking on Tampa at this point in age. But Minnesota, they have surpassed my wildest dreams for what we could look for. But I'm going to talk pressure here because Kirk Cousins has not looked good the last couple of weeks. And I think it's very obvious to see why. Kirk Cousins under pressure against the Chargers and against Denver. We're talking 2 really polished defenses. Now, New Orleans, there's really no excuse for that outing that he had, but 4 picks against the Chargers. We can all agree the Chargers have been balling all season long, even without some of those pieces on the defensive side. Still finding ways to be effective there. Shout out Harbaugh. He's doing good things. But my Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, he has been alleviating pressure here for most of the season here for Sam Darnold. This offensive line, I didn't think they were very good coming into this season, and they still had some cracks in the armor here from time to time, but for the most part, I can't ask for a whole lot more than them going out and acquiring Cam Robinson. Sure, I would prefer Dillashaw was still healthy, and we didn't go for it there at the 1-yard line just to get out of the box with Aaron Jones. Could have just taken a knee. There was enough room, but that's a conversation for a different day. Trappy Thursday night football game for sure. But the right side, Brian O'Neill has been incredible. Bradbury, I think you're going to see a lot of time here for Sam Darnold because Matthew Judon has been awful this season, really generating no pressure. Only 24 snaps out there this last week. I mean, I don't think you're looking at any type of pass rush that Atlanta can generate in any way, shape, or form. Now, they have some decent enough corners in Terrell. A.J. Terrell specifically will be out on Jordan Addison. You're probably looking at Clark Phillips II. I've broken this game down so many different ways, so many different iterations, and I feel like the mean distribution, the median number that we're basically looking at here for Kirk Cousins sits in around the 275 passing range. Well, wouldn't you know it, his passing is sitting right now, minus 113 at FanDuel, 249.5 passing yards. I am way north of that. In fact, my mean projection sits north of 280. I'm in love with the opportunity that we have here right now for my boy, Sam Darnold, to continue to ascend us into not just, we are in NFC North and in NFC in general. I mean, you got to beat the Lions. It goes through the Lions here at the moment. You got to beat the Eagles. It goes through the Eagles at the moment. But Minnesota, with our defense, with Brian Flores doing those things, I still think this offense has got room to grow. TJ Hawkinson on the field more. Jordan Addison playing like number one. And Justin Jefferson, been pretty quiet. That changes here on Sunday. I'm in love with it. And yes, I'm a homer, but I don't really care about that stuff. I'm expecting good things from Minnesota. That is rare. The Vegas Raiders taking on Tampa Bay here in this spot. And oh boy, another passing yardage number that's sticking out to me. But I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit here. Mike Evans back, looking really nice here for Tampa Bay, but they're taking on Vegas. I'm not sure what I'm really kind of asking for here from the numbers. Like, I've ran multiple iterations of this game, but Bucky Irving just continues to seed some of the need for Baker Mayfield to have some of those ridiculous ceiling games that we saw earlier in the season. Now, he still threw for 294 yards against the Giants, completely eviscerated them, 9.8 yards per completion in that one. I mean, the Giants just rolling over and dying, but we've seen some massive ceiling games, 330 yards passing against Atlanta, 370 against Baltimore, 347 against Philly. However, as Bucky Irving has started to see more snaps and be as successful in the running game as what he's been, I'm worried. Now, Bucky Irving is questionable entering this game. I think he ends up playing. He practiced in a limited capacity on Friday. I waited, to make sure that I could get recording after Tampa Bay's practice report came out. And yet I'm still going to pump the brakes. I'm pretty invested in props already on this board. We'll get into some more, one I'm thinking about coming up next. But Baker Mayfield, 240.5 passing yards. Do they need to push the tempo against Vegas? I don't think so if you get Bucky Irving on the field. That's kind of what I'm worried about. I'm worried that his ceiling isn't what it was earlier, just out of necessity, even with Mike Evans back, with Cade Otton doing fantastic things. And shout out Brock Bowers for just being an absolute dude on the Vegas side. I mean, it kind of freaks me out. Maybe we see Vegas play another competitive game, playing more competitive of late here in Arrowhead. That was a phenomenal football game on the Vegas side. Thought they should have won it, but over 240.5 passing yards. I generally this should be a play, but I'm going to pass as for right now. Carolina at Philly, 13. 13 is how many the Carolina, not even Panthers, but hey, Bryce Young been playing a lot better football of late too. I feel like we're saying that a lot, and I'm not going to waste your time. I think we know who these teams are at this point of the season. It's week 14. Philadelphia's defense, though, I didn't see this coming from them. I don't think many people did, but this secondary completely redone. Specifically just looking at some of the safeties. This is just a ridiculous haul that they've had in a couple of these previous drafts, finding, all of the dudes from Iowa and Reed Blankenship, Middle Tennessee's finest out there. Gardner Johnson been having a pretty decent season for them as well. Of course, Slay's been there for a while, Quinion Mitchell, and inside there, Cooper DeJean, the Iowa finest. My dear God, what a rookie season by him. Third best cornerback in PFF grading for anybody who cares about such things. But yeah, Bryce Young probably comes to an end here, but I'm thinking about multiple things to bet, and I haven't bet anything yet, so they're both going to be leans. Just listen to me. Saquon Barkley is listed at 113.5 rushing yards. Now, I don't know about you, but you kind of, if you're up 2 scores, 3 scores, I'm worried that this becomes a Kenneth Gainwell type spot where you mix him in a little bit more. You try to alleviate some of that workload rather than just put the pedal to the metal. Now, they haven't shown that yet, considering he's had, 26, 23 carries the last 3 weeks, but that was against Washington, which we know where they're at in the AFC East. They've been competitive. On the road against the Rams, primetime game needed it, and against Baltimore, primetime absolutely freaking needed it. But this is Carolina. If they get off to a hot start, there's a lot of worlds where I think you just kind of take your foot off the gas. But that still creates the opportunity, I think, where Philadelphia's defense comes out and does it every single week. I'm looking at Philadelphia alt spreads, not just the 13.5, but potentially 20.5, potentially just taking some unders on Carolina team total, under 10, under 12, under 14, looking at some of these specific numbers. I've reran a lot of iterations trying to find something for you here, but I think we'll get something better before kickoff, just purely by, there's books who want to take action on these type of props and these type of numbers and team totals, man. It's a really good section over on OddsShopper, so you want to take a gander at that. But Philly, I think they just dominate this football game. But Saquon, can't believe I like this under. I'm going to keep it off the card just because I think I know better. Got to have this on the card, though. Jacksonville plus 3.5, but there is a 3 lingering out there at DraftKings right now. It is a minus 115. Now let's have a discussion. Is that half point worth 10 cents? Yes, just about every single time. However, when you're talking 2.5 to 2, just the state of the NFL with kickers. We have a lot of injured kickers around pretty much everywhere. I mean, Kansas City's got replacement guys. We got Cade York going in. His girlfriend's a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. He's going to be on the opposite side with Cincinnati kicking. That was a fun story to be breaking down. Didn't handicap for it, just letting it be known. But I think that half point is extremely valuable here in Tennessee for a home favorite. I think you want to go grab that at DK right now. If you're at 3.5 and you get minus 102 or better, I could see that as well. But I'm going to keep this analysis quick. I think Tennessee is better on both sides of the football right now. I don't trust Mac Jones to generate any offense whatsoever. You now have Trevor Lawrence out for the foreseeable future, even with their other pieces starting to come back and being healthy. Evan Ingram been decent enough at the tight end position. Brian Robinson had a nice rookie season, although Mac Jones throwing the football is not ideal. Let me just throw it to you that way. Tennessee, I think they get it done for us pretty comfortably. 50% off using code Lindy50. Again, this now exists not just for the holiday season, but from now until infinity and beyond, as long as I have a Discord over at OddsShopper, a Tails package to offer, as long as I am betting every single day and putting plays out for the people, I will give you 50% off your first week or first month to join. Now, it's generally $20 for a week, $50 for a month. I try to keep that, in a spot that I think is sustainable for everybody, but I understand during the holiday season, this is just a crazy, crazy time, and I want you to be betting and hanging out and betting money as long as we're doing it responsibly. 50% off using code Lindy50 gets you me for $10 for a week, $25 for a month. That is less than $1 a day if you sign up for the monthly. Just throwing it out there, less than $1 a day to have access to all of my NBA plays, all of my NFL plays. I haven't taken a Saturday off from posting and betting since I started this Tails package, actually. So generally Saturday, my one day off, but there are no days off right now as we are trying to rock and roll throughout this holiday season. Use code Lindy50 only for 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Alrighty, y'all, back to the picks. Aaron Rodgers. Anybody gonna go watch him do some ayahuasca on Netflix? Yeah, it's coming up. I could not care less. Skull Vikings, let's go. Miami, they're going to be hosting the Jets. I'm sure everybody on the Jets side is excited about their season to go to Miami for a weekend. They're probably looking forward to Sunday night more than they're looking forward to Sunday during the game. That's kind of what I'm hoping. Now, this number is not really bettable because I get it. We can pick on the Jets for how egregious they've been all season long, but the one thing that stands out to me is how good that wide receiver core still is. Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson. There's a lot of bad quarterbacks who can still be serviceable with those two. I mean, Garrett Wilson, it's been worse of late. There's no doubt about it, but still getting the target volume, still looking pretty good here relative to a lot of wide receiver cores in the NFL. I think against a team like Miami, that really does matter. I think this might be a more competitive game. However, not many dogs that really showed up on the card for me this week. It's weird. We've had some very heavy dog cards, and then we've had some heavy total cards. This is kind of like I bet 1, 2, 3 spreads so far. So I have 3 spread bets. They're all favorites, which is very strange for me. I'm generally not of that life, but this is not going to be one of those. This is going to be Devon Achane touchdown because Devon Achane usage is out of control. His passing game volume looked awesome. Jonnu Smith helping to pull the top off the defense here against Miami, and we saw signs of life for Jalen Waddle. I'm just saying, Miami's offense with Tua Tagovailoa has been exponentially better. That shouldn't surprise anybody when it's Skylar Thompson and that Johnson character in the stead of, come on now. Devon Achane anytime touchdown inside of minus 150. This is too good of a price, even against a Jets defense that has been okay at times, but much worse than advertised. I don't know what to do with this game. I really, really don't. And considering, I have totals that I'm kind of interested in all over the place. Like there's 2 or 3 of them. And if I end up adding one, they'll obviously get posted in the premium Discord. If you want to ask me on X on Sunday, hey, Eric, did you find any totals that you ended up liking? Or I'm just kind of waiting for the public to do its thing and bet a couple of these overs. And we can maybe capitalize on an under or 2. I think Buffalo LA coming up next, one that I'm kind of interested in doing that with. But I have a lean like for this play and that Buffalo LA Rams game that is actually a spread. Now, I have bet that one. I have not bet this one, and I'll explain why. Seattle, Arizona, Kenneth Walker. He didn't practice on Friday. I think it's going to be a Zach Charbonnet especial, but Kenneth Walker, say what you want. He's been very inconsistent, but he really gets it done in the red zone. I mean, the guy finds ways to get into the box. This entire season, 8 touchdowns now on the ground, 8 total touchdowns. That is 7 that he's had on the ground. He had the 1 receiving one against Detroit. That's right. But Kenneth Walker, followed by Kenny McIntosh. I mean, it's going to be all Zach Charbonnet if there's not Zach Wilson if there's not Kenneth Walker out there. And you got Seattle healthy going up against Arizona, but for whatever reason, Arizona's defense, they should have won that game against Minnesota. I think we've said, I could say that about Arizona in multiple games this season. Games they shouldn't have won and games they should have won. There's no doubt that they played better than my Minnesota Vikings, and obviously I'm hoping for a bounce back there with Darnold and company, but I look at this entire complexion of the game, and I have it constantly landing on 46.5, 47, whenever I sim it out, whenever I'm looking at it, and yet something about it just doesn't feel right because Arizona's defense continues to surprise me. They don't really have all of the pieces. It's basically just an accumulation, a group effort, the sum of the parts. I can't remember that saying. But anywho, over 44. There are 44s that still exist here. I think there's a world where this dips down to like 43.5, 43. And if it doesn't end up on my card, I won't be heartbroken about it, but I think it's a decent enough bet right now. So if you're looking for a total, if you're looking for extra exposure because, hey, I just want to set it and forget it, this is positive EV right now. But sometimes waiting, letting the public do its thing, or letting some sharp money come in and move this number down. I hope it's not sharp money because obviously I'm hoping I'm the sharp money. Buffalo 3.5 taking on the Rams. Now, I made this a lean like because this is technically thinner than what the previous play was, but I bet it. I'm comfortable with it. The Rams defense is not that good, getting a little bit exposed. Now, it's not just that they go up against Buffalo and not really generate the kind of offense that you're really looking for. Just kind of a weird game script in general, or sorry, not Baltimore, the New Orleans one, 21-14. Ended up being a lot lower scoring game than I was anticipating. They ended up backing Kyron Williams. He had his first 100-plus yard game since week 5 against Green Bay. Only 2 of them that he's had on the season. Not even adding a ton of receiving volume to the fray here at the moment. Kyron Williams, though, we know he's going to be out there quite a bit. But Blake Corum, 8 carries last week, 42 yards. The Michigan guy starting to get kind of worked in here late in the season. That happens with rookies. You start to see that usage come up because they've been in the offense. They've been going through the reps. They get how the NFL season is going along, and coaches like Sean McVay will end up trusting them. So that's something to pay attention to on the Rams side that I was looking at from a prop perspective. But Buffalo, friends, Buffalo, yeah, they got to take advantage of a decimated San Francisco team. And Christian McCaffrey would have had a big game if he had been able to stay in that one there in the snow. That being said, Josh Allen becomes like the first quarterback in forever to throw, catch, and run for a touchdown. I mean, just a ridiculous deal from Josh Allen there. It was an absurd game. Only 17 pass attempts from him there, too. They kind of put him in bubble wrap at the end, put in Mitch Trubisky in that fourth quarter. But I really do like Buffalo here in this spot. 49.5 total. So, again, the variance, it's up there. I think Buffalo comes out. I mean, Josh Allen, when they're building out a new stadium in Buffalo, I thought for sure, I mean, just put a dome on that thing. They're going to be an explosive offense. And getting all of the guys, Khalil Shakira, Amari Cooper, and also Keon Coleman with the wrist injury. I think he's a go here in this spot, which should definitely help bring the top off the defense. And yeah, sucks having Dalton Kincaid dinged up. He's questionable for this one, but if he ends up playing too, you got a pretty healthy Buffalo offense taking on a Rams defense that they're missing some pieces. They are not exactly full strength. 2 games to go. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, as I have no idea what to do here. Caleb Williams and company. Well, you got a new football coach. Eberflus. I mean, I liked him. NFC North rival. That always made me happy. But Thomas Brown taking over for them, and he's been calling the plays, offensive coordinator the last couple of weeks. They've been way better. Another competitive spot that they don't win. Competitive spot against the Packers. Should have won that game. Competitive spot against the Lions. Maybe not should have automatically won it, but some of that coaching at the end, that just kind of that buried Eberflus for life. Or maybe he just wanted out of there and was like, if I don't call a timeout here, I can get a new job and, take this money and not work. Guess I can't blame him. But you got Isaac Garundo, who's going to be the supposed RB1 here, just taking all of the carries with Jordan Mason and Christian McCaffrey out. I get it. You went out and got him off the waiver wire. Congratulations. He's going to look good enough to start for a lot of people. Play him in the flex, RB2 consideration for sure. But I think there's a world where Deebo Samuel gets mixed in for some more carries, and I'm staring this one dead in the face. 54.5 rushing plus receiving yards. If you've watched games like the Packers playoff game where they go into the snow with Jimmy Garoppolo, and you had Deebo Samuel playing in the backfield almost the entire game. You know what he's capable of. Now, San Francisco, this is still a winnable division with how bad it's been. You have a 7-5 Seattle team, Arizona 6-6 that are, facing each other. So one of those is going to go in the opposite direction. I'm assuming they're going to be cheering for Arizona there, but this is still very live here for San Francisco. 5-7. Yes, they've been on a major skid here, but Brock Purdy, the shoulder looked better. He stayed fully healthy in that snow game in Buffalo, which I think is the most important part of that snow game in Buffalo for them. Deebo Samuel, 54.5 rushing plus receiving yards. That's a really low number if we assume that he gets some running game work. That one's a lean. I'm just thinking about it, but nothing like a plus 410 touchdown to log us off. We've got the Chargers in Kansas City, the event of Sunday. I think we're all looking forward to it. An 8-4 Chargers team with Mr. Harbaugh. They didn't look very good. They didn't really look like contenders against Baltimore last time out. That was where my brain was going to when I was talking about Baltimore earlier. But Kansas City on the other side, they've got the lucky rabbit's foot. Another game. Vegas. They had no business winning that, but hey, bad teams find ways to lose football games, and that's exactly what Vegas did with clock management towards the end of that one. But the Chargers, 8-3-1 against the spread. The Chiefs, despite being 11-1, 4-7-1 against the spread. You would be a pretty decently losing better to be back in Kansas City. Now, I've only bet them twice. I'm 1-1. Unfortunately, one of those was a lock that they ended up losing for us. So thanks a lot for that one, guys. Way to go. They didn't cover against the Raiders. It was. My sheet tells me everything, and my sheet tells me, nice job. Oh, yeah, that was the game where they scored in, the last possession, the last 20 seconds. That sucked. That was stupid. I blame producer Jacob. He's in Vegas. I'm mad at you. But we should probably get ourselves the heck up out of here and make this less than a 30-minute program, shall we? I'll just get to it, shall we? Noah Gray. Noah Gray is the guy that I've got circled, penned, highlighted, starred. I think there is a world where he is on the field a lot in 12 personnel with Khalil Mack and Bosa, both healthy, both out there going to be rolling. You want to get Kelsey and Gray on the field together, and they've started to do that a lot more here lately. I mean, Noah Gray got paid coming off of this season. He's been playing big snaps, and if you look at his graph, it's just kind of ramped up. 44 snaps here, red zone targets coming along with it as well. I really think this is a positive EV play for multiple reasons, not just from a projection basis where he's on the field a lot. I expect a little bit more 12 to deal with it, but in terms of market-based analysis, Noah Gray is not inside of plus 350 at any other book, but plus 410 at FanDuel. Shout out FanDuel. They're the real ones because really the only place to be playing touchdowns at the moment. And that does it for a Week 14 edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Head to the comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays that exist on the board for this lovely slate we have before us. Tons of games, tons of action. I'll be covering it all in tails. You can sign up for that down below and 50% off using code Lindy50. Thank you, producer Jacob. I'm Eric Lindquist. We'll see you guys Monday night. Monday Night Football. Ooh, that's going to be a doozy. Until then, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NFL streets on Sunday.